let's talk a little bit about now the status of not only the individuals at nationals in March, but let's talk about the status of the team race. So this will be very interesting because this upcoming week we see Penn State wrestle Ohio State. Now, of course, this past weekend, Penn State wrestled Michigan, and they beat them pretty handily. There were some really, really good matches. Nolf's match was good. He took it to him. And Bo Nickel, tough. I mean, he wrestled tough. He pinned his kid. And, who had a really good match was, of course, Vincenzo Joseph, who went into OT. And so, but they took it to Michigan and they showed them that, no, we're looking for that national title. And this is interesting because Michigan beat Ohio State 2 weeks ago and they beat them pretty good. Now, another team that I believe is in this race besides Penn State, Michigan, Ohio State is Iowa. And Iowa, I don't know if they were in the hunt at the beginning of the season. Obviously Iowa's always a tough team to beat. Very tough team. But now that they have a lot of these guys coming in here, you got DeSanto, who we weren't sure how he was going to do with his crazy freak out at NCAA's last year. But you also got Alex Marinelli. You got Sam Stoll at heavyweight, they're showing some strong potential. But Iowa, they don't wrestle Penn State this year. They don't wrestle Michigan, and they don't even wrestle Ohio State. So they don't wrestle any of these teams. So it's kind of hard to see where they stack up against the competition. We'll see this for the first time probably at Big Tens. And Big Tens, that may be the really interesting story here. But anyway, let's get into this. So Penn State, look, this last year was one of the best national tournaments I've ever seen, with Ohio State and Penn State just battling each other for that first place spot. And, either of those teams could win. Of course, it came down to Bo Nickel and Miles Martin. This year, I think Penn State's running away with it. And I think they're running away with it far. So, I think really the question here is who's taking second? Who's taking second out of these other teams? Penn State, they have a couple guys who could be all in the national finals. Bo Nickel, Mark Hall, Vincenzo Joseph, Jason Nolf, all who I think could be in the national finals, if not national champions. Then they have their All-Americans, who is Nittany, Kassar, Rashid, and possibly even Roman Bravo Young, RBY. So that's 8 placers out of 10 on their team. So that's kind of hard to beat, and I don't think these other teams have that this year. They have a lot of guys who could be each of these teams has somebody who, at least 1 or 2 people who could be national champions. And one of those teams is, of course, Ohio State, who Penn State and Ohio State are wrestling this next week. And I'll get to that in a little bit of my predictions for that match, which I'm going to and I'm so excited for. So the Ohio State ranked guys right now, you have Luke Pletcher, Joey McKenna, Micah Jordan, Keyshawn Hayes, Miles Martin, and Colin Moore. Now, we will be getting the Colin Moore-Bo Nickel match this weekend, which that'll be interesting to see what happens there. Both really tough guys. But so they have 6 guys in the lineup who I think could All-American, with a couple of these winning, potentially Miles Martin winning, Colin Moore, depending. I don't think he's going to beat Bo Nickel, but we'll see. Bo's bumping up a weight, and Colin Moore is a strong guy. Now, of course, Ohio State lost to Michigan in the duel, but Ohio State is always a really tough tournament team. They've guys that score points, and they've guys that are looking for that national title. So Michigan, so they have Micic and Massa, who's number 7 at 165, Miles Amin, and Mason Paris. So Miles Amin, tough kid. Both of the Amins actually are really tough. And, Mason Paris at 285, another potential looking for that national title. And, of course, Micic at 133. Micic has a lot of guys in his way. All these guys have people in their way, obviously, but Micic has Soriano. He has DeSanto, and a couple of these matches will play into the team race, but I think Micic can do very well. And, if somebody like an RBY knocks off a Micic, there's more points for Penn State. Or if Micic knocks off an RBY from Penn State, then we're getting some more points for Michigan. So can Michigan beat Ohio State for that second place spot? Potentially. I think they could. I think they're a little bit low in the lineup. One team that I think can really ramp it up is Iowa. Of course, Iowa has Spencer Lee, who is one of the toughest kids in the country. Of course, he has Rivera in his way at 125. But a little bit, I don't want to say an easier field than last year, but a little bit, with the competition. And then they have DeSanto, Caleb Young, and Alex Marinelli. Alex Marinelli at 165, who's gunning for Vincenzo, and a couple of these other guys. And then Jacob Warner and Sam Stoll at heavyweight. So that heavyweight competition is going to be interesting with Gable Stevenson from Minnesota versus Sam Stoll, even versus an Anthony Cassar from Penn State. We've yet to see those guys wrestle, and I really want to see what the status is there. So I believe that that Iowa will finish above Ohio State. Just my prediction. I think they're beating Michigan as well. Another contender too is actually Oklahoma State. So Oklahoma State, of course, they have Nick Piccinini. They fix Feller who's number 4 at 149, Smith, who's at 174, number 5, and Derek White at 285, who's another tough heavyweight. So Sam Stoll is a heavyweight who's going to be facing off against Derek White, who they didn't wrestle earlier in the dual meet this season, but that's critical. That's critical for the team race, seeing what happens there. So what are my predictions for who wins the team race? Number 1, Penn State. I think they're at the top. Number 2, Iowa. They're beating Ohio State. But as I said, Ohio State's a really tough dual tournament team, so they're taking third. They have a lot of guys who will do well and score bonus points, which is critical in winning that title. In 4th place, I have Michigan. In 5th place, Oklahoma State. Whether it turns out that way or not, that has yet to be determined, obviously. Any of these teams are in the hunt for a national title. Maybe somebody gets hurt. Maybe somebody, loses a crazy match. At the national tournament, anything can happen. Trust me, anything can happen. So those are my predictions. What do you guys think? What are your top 5 teams? Give me the order down below and who you think will rank at not Whitfields, but national tournament.